So how do we stop dogs from busting through doorways? I really like using Susan Garrett's crate games technique. So what she does is teaches the dog that when your hand is on the door handle, that means sit. And it's also a great way that you can develop it into dogs asking permission to go through doorways. So if they want to go through a doorway, they auto sit at the doorway and then you can release them through it. I'm going to put some food out on the floor because I don't think that he would appreciate following food at the moment. I think if he had a hand coming towards his face, he'd find that quite punishing. So I'm going to give him his release cue and tap. There we go. Awesome. This is good. Now, because he's got value in the crate, he will choose to go back in, and I'm just going to try and feed him in a stand because it's going to make luring him into a sit much easier. And then he'll get food on his nose and lure him into a sit. Good, I'm going to give him a thumbs up, then give him the food. I'm going to give him a thumbs up, give him another piece of food. Thumbs up, another piece of food. This is for holding the sit. I'm going to put a piece of food down and release him to it. And this is all going to go quite quickly, so the dog can't choose to do a different behaviour. He's going to choose to go back in his crate. Thumbs up and feed for going in the crate. I'm going to lure him into a sit. And I'm going to do that as far at the back of the crate as I can. Sometimes it's a bit tricky. Sometimes you might need to, this has got a crate cover on it, you might need to take covers off. Good, he's holding his sit. Thumbs up, feed. Thumbs up, feed. Little temptation out. If they do bust out of the crate, just cover it like in the mouse game. He's holding it, beautiful. Excellent. He's going to go back in his crate. I'm going to feed for going in the crate. I'm going to lure him into a sit. On the nose. There we go. I accidentally stuck the food in his mouth, so instead of on his nose. Really tricky trying to get your arms in crates sometimes, especially with these big crates. Okay, now he's doing amazing. So what I'm going to do is break him off. I'm going to close the door. I'm going to switch sides. Hopefully you can still see me. Close the door of the crate. He's all good with that. Now I'm going to go hand, he's still in the stand. Beautiful, he's offered a sit. I'm going to give a thumbs up, open the crate door, feed, thumbs up, feed, thumbs up, feed, break him out, and reset. Good, he's gone in, thumbs up for going in the crate, and feed. I'm going to close the door slowly just because his nose is poking through. What you going to do? Yeah, lovely. Cool, okay, he's gone into a down, that's okay. What I'm going to do is unlock the door and lure him back into a sit because I want him to be sitting when the crate door is going to open. So I'm going to lure him into a sit. Up you come. I can't reach that far. What am I doing? Are you getting super confused? That's all right. Because it's not working, I'm going to reset him and try again. You get that? This time I'm going to try and feed him further at the back of the crate. There we go. Feed him further at the back. Beautiful. I'll lure him into a stand. No, you can stand. Good work, man. Close the door. The nose is inside. This is great. Let him see my hand. Let him see my hand going onto the handle. The moment he offers a sit, I give him a thumbs up. Open the door and feed. Feed for holding position while the door's open. Break him off and feed. Wait for him to offer going in. Good job. I'm going to feed you at the back of the crate because your nose is right at the front. Boy. Good job. I'll actually get him back into the stand so he offers the sit when I put my hands on the handle. So door's closed. Now, hand on handle, wait for him to choose to sit, mark at the time his butt hits the ground, open the door, feed, thumbs up, feed. I'm going to put the temptation out and release him to it. Good job. This time I'm going to close the door straight away. Going to put my hand on the handle. Good boy. I'm going to lure him back up into the sit rather than into the down, just to keep our criteria nice and clear. Good job. Give him a couple for that. He's tired, so he's finding that really tricky. Going to release him out straight away. And there we go, and I'll show you how we can then transfer that to a different type of dog. What is a good man? Just a good little man. Okay, here we are with a different type of door, but the principle is exactly the same. When my hand goes on the door handle, I'm going to wait for you to choose to sit. I'm not going to cue him to sit if I can get away with it. If a dog is quite operant in, they're willing to offer different behaviours to see which one works, this sort of shaping game can be really great. If a dog is more reserved, if they have low tolerance of frustration, if they're going to bark and whinge and vocalise and get stressed if they don't know how to get it right, that's when I would cue them to sit. So I would do hand on the door handle, cue the dog to sit, then I would open the door. But if I can get away with shaping it and letting the dog think through the problem all on their own, it's going to produce better learning. So I'm going to just repeat exactly what we did before. I'm going to stand up, I'm going to put my hand on the door handle. Because he's deaf, I'm going to wiggle my fingers in front of his face just so he knows that something's going on with my hand and he should pay attention to my hand. Then I'm going to wait for him to sit. Because Havoc's done this a lot, he's going to do this quite quickly. He was just about to offer a sit. He already knows this behaviour. With your dog, if they're not distressed, but they're taking a long time, just wait them out. The longer that it takes, the better the learning is going to be on that repetition. So we're not going to stress if it takes forever for them to offer a sit, we're just going to wait them out. Okay, are you ready, little man? So I'm going to put this food down here. My hand goes on the door handle. Wait for him to offer a sit. Thumbs up. I'm going to feed that. I'm going to open the door. Now to start with, I'm just going to open it a little bit so he doesn't bust out. And I'm going to thumbs up for maintaining that criteria. Then I'm going to close the door. I'm going to release him and we can do another rack. So he comes back, hand goes on the door handle. Good, thumbs up for sitting. Feed the sit. Now we add our distraction. Can you hold the sit while I open the door? Good job. Feed, feed, feed. And close the door. Release him out of his sit and feed the release. Go again. Hand on the door handle. Wait for the sit. Good boy. Feed the sit. Open. This time I'm going to release him through the door. Here you go. And the reward is getting to go through the door. And he's like, this is really confusing. Going to come back in? And try again. Just to keep his release cue nice and strong, I'm actually going to release a piece of food through the door. If he realises that or if he thinks that going through the door is actually a bad deal, then he may not release. And we want that release cue to be really strong. The more love they have for their release cue, the more willing they're going to be to hold their sit in order to get that privilege. If they're not finding the release cue a privilege, then they're not going to hold their sit. So I'm going to show him. Hand goes on the door. Good boy. Feed the sit. feed the auto stay, another piece of food, release, and a piece of food through there to give some value to that release cue. Now we can do the exact same thing going all the way outside. This is our gate on our balcony. It's got stairs and it goes down to our garden. This is another place where I would like a lot of self-control. I don't want the dogs busting through the gate, running down the stairs and hurting themselves. I want this to be a calm, controlled experience. So this is another place where I really want some sort of auto self-control and an auto sit. I'm going to get him moving because he's laying down, so he's unlikely to go into a sit from laying down. He's more likely to go into a sit from a stand. So I'm just going to toss a bit of food, reset him. I'm going to bring him over here. There you go. I'm going to show him my hand. My hand goes on the lock. Feed the sit. Open the gate. Feed the self-control. And release over here. I don't want the release always going through the gate. Sometimes I want to release back just to make sure that we're not having that anticipation. And come back over. Let's see if you can do it from there. Hand goes on the lock. Can you see? Hand goes on the lock. Good, we're still chewing, so that's tricky. Good. Open the gate. Good job. If you like, you can even start testing, but I wouldn't do that until their auto stay is really good. And you notice I'm not cueing stay. Sit means sit. If we start saying stay, then what does sit mean? Do I plonk my butt on the floor and then just get up when I feel like it? Like this one? Come on. You're going to release. You're going to come back to your bed. Let's go. Okie doke. So, hands on the door handle. Wait for them to sit. Once they're good at it, we can mark, and getting released through the gate is the reward. Off you go, and you can go down there. I'm going to throw a piece of food down the stairs to again give him some reward value for the release cue. We don't want our release cues to be broken or weak. Yeah, we don't want our release cues to be weak. We want them to be really, really strong so they love doing them. So that opportunity, that privilege of being released is worth waiting for. Now, if you find that when you release your dog, they bolt through the gate or the door, that's again another thing that we don't really want. So an option that you do have, when you release them into some food and you lure them slowly through the doorway. So they get practice at succeeding of walking slowly through the doorway. Another option you could do is slowly drop pieces of food in a breadcrumb trail and point to each one. Again, we want them to rehearse the behavior of slowly controlled walking through the doorway rather than bolting through. Another option, and I like to do this out of the crate as well, scatter some food and release them into a scatter feed. Scatter feeding is a low arousal activity, so there's no reason to put your disco pants on and bust into scatter feeding. We're rehearsing the room, so to speak. They're practicing the arousal level that they're supposed to have when doing this particular task. Nice and calm. Find different ways and experiment with what your dog is going to find most successful. If there's stairs, I like to lure them down. Yes, I threw a piece of food because he's had a lot of practice of this, but when I'm teaching it, I'm going to be slowly luring them down, or when they do a step, thumbs up, feed. Another step, thumbs up, feed. So they can concentrate on the task at hand rather than concentrating just on the food and possibly falling down the stairs. If you don't have stairs and you've got just a flat threshold, then use something like a slow scatter feed, a breadcrumb trail, and point to each one. So they eat one piece of food, take a few steps, eat the next piece of food, take a few steps. Anything that's going to work to slow them down. And of course, we're also going to practice lots of release, throw the food back. Release, throw the food back. Just because there's a doorway doesn't mean we go through it. Sometimes we go through it, but a lot of the time we also go back. Balancing that value of inside the doorway and outside the doorway can really, really help as well. A lot of dogs struggle with barriers because they don't understand this value on both sides of the barriers. They see doorways and gaps through barriers as just a thing to go through. And if your concept of the world is there's a doorway so I go through it, then we can get our disco pants on, particularly with smart dogs. They're anticipating. They're 10 steps ahead of you already. So they're anticipating not just going through the door, but they're anticipating running into the yard. They're anticipating all the fun things that they're going to do when they're there. So they're preparing for that really exciting event before the door's even open. So in order to reduce that excitement and reduce that frustration, let's put value backwards away from the door. That's going to help bring everything down, get things much more settled, and then sometimes we're going to slowly come through the door. Maybe we'll come back again and then scatter feet inside the house. So there's some ideas on how you can slow your dog down going through doorways, teach them a little bit of impulse control, some self-control, and generally make things a bit more safe for you and your dog. Happy training! Bye!